When I finished uni and I had my bachelor's degree, I was ready to take on the world and get my dream corporate job. If only it was that easy. I got a job in retail instead, and I figured I'll do that in the meantime while I study some more and get some more qualifications under my belt, and maybe then I'll be able to land myself that engineering job I wanted. I had failed so many job interviews and I kind of gave up. So I decided to start a business in developing and designing apps instead. It was a one-man business. I ran this business while working on my job in retail and also studying for my qualifications and occasionally working night shifts. There was just a lot going on. I was a mess, lost. And as you can imagine, I couldn't get enough sleep. I spent so much time searching for methods that could help me get all of these things done, but I couldn't find anything substantial. So the only thing I could do really is compromise on my sleep. I actually came across a method of this guy on YouTube who claimed that he was so busy he had resorted to not sleeping long stretches. Instead, what he did, he would alternate sleep with work in 20-minute intervals. So he would sleep for 20 minutes and work for 20 minutes, and sleep for another 20 minutes and work for 20 minutes again, and so on. And he would do that throughout the day. It's so silly now when I think about it, but I don't know, I never opted for that option. Let's talk about sleep. When it comes to sleep, I find there's two types of people. There's those who get their full hours of sleep, 7 or more hours, and those who sleep less than the recommended hours for many reasons. They are the ones who claim they can get on just fine with 5 or 6 hours of sleep, or even 4 hours. This video is for that second group of people. Oh, by the way, before I go ahead, I'm not a sleep expert, so if you're having real sleep problems, please get medical advice. When I was a teenager, man, I used to love sleep. I mean, I would sleep for anything up to 10, 12 hours. And I remember I used to get people say to me, man, you're so lazy, you sleep too much. And some common statements I would hear were along the lines of, get up and do something, sleep is for the dead, or you'll sleep when you die. So when I became older and life became busy, I began to sleep less than the recommended hours because of that mentality I had adopted. At uni, whenever there was an assignment deadline or exam coming up, most of us would leave it to the very last minute. So what we'd end up doing is we'd stay up all night, even for a few nights actually, with very little sleep. Man, if only I knew just how unproductive that was. The thing is, life does get stupid busy sometimes. If you've got deadlines, you've got kids' activities, or you're running a business, a side hustle, you've got assignments to hand in, etc. Life just screams busy, busy, busy. Well, that's growing up. But what tends to happen with so much going on is that we end up sleeping less to get our work done. But then we forget that it's not really about the hours we put into our work. It's also about the quality of the hours. And depriving ourselves of sleep affects the quality of those hours we put in. You know, I found out that 3 in 4 employees in the UK have sleep problems, and it's mainly by choice. To some people, sleeping sounds like it's a waste of time and it slows down progress. And that's how I felt at that time when I was working on so many things. But truthfully, it's probably one of the most productive times of our 24-hour clock. And why do I say that? Why do I say sleep is the most productive time? It's all from this book, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Let's dive deeper. I'm sure we all know of the recommended 8 hours of sleep. I personally function better with just over 7 hours. And some people get on just fine with 6 hours, some people with 4 hours, so they say. However, Matthew Walker says that there's only a tiny percentage of people who can genuinely function with less than the recommended hours of sleep. And this is due to a rare genetic mutation. Check this out. This is what he says. He says that the probability that you will have this gene is very low. You're far more likely to be struck by lightning in your lifetime. So yeah, for those people who thought they are okay with little sleep, studies have shown that when we sleep less than the recommended hours, our concentration tends to dip, even though it appears as if we're being productive. It would also depend on what kind of work we do while we're up. So let's say if you work in an office where you're sat down and you need a great amount of concentration, then your work would likely suffer. But if you're in a job that keeps you on your feet and doesn't need much concentration, then you may just be alright. But sleep doesn't just affect concentration. Let's quickly take a look at some of the things that may be caused by lack of proper sleep. So you've got obesity, irregular emotions, poor immune system, heart disease. And look, I could go on and on about all the side effects of poor sleep, but the point here is a lot of them are not as obvious, but science does back them up. Reduced fertility, obesity, Wait, I've said that already. Ever come across people who brag about how much little sleep they had the night before or on a regular basis because they are so busy working on whatever? While it's true that you have to put in the work and time, depriving yourself of sleep is actually counterproductive, as we've already touched on. And according to another doctor, Dr. Itzhak Fried of UCLA, he says, starving the body of sleep also robs neurons of the ability to function properly. Dr. Fried carried out a study and he found that people who had less sleep were a bit slow. So let's break this down for a moment. Let's say you get your 8 hours of sleep, but you can only put in 4 hours for your essay assignment, for example. You're likely to be more productive in those 4 hours than if you slept for 4 hours and put in 8 hours towards your essay, because you are working long hours but not at your optimal capability. Well, that's my understanding of that study that Dr. Fried carried out. Our brains and bodies need to rest to function effectively. Let's look at a few prominent individuals on what they think about sleep. Bill Gates, he says he finds he is more creative when he gets to 7 hours of sleep. In his words, I can give a speech without much sleep. I can do parts of my job that way, but in thinking creatively, I'm not much good without 7 hours. Ariana Huffington, founder of Huffington Post, says to succeed, get more sleep. She collapsed in the office due to exhaustion and hit her head, broke her cheekbone, and since then she's been an advocate for proper sleep. So yeah, lack of sleep certainly affects our brain functions and productivity, but most importantly, our health. I want to leave you with a thought-provoking quote from Dalai Lama. Check this out. He says, man sacrifices his health in order to make money, and then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health. And then he's so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he's never going to die and then dies having never really lived. That's deep. Of course, there are some cases when you would need to stay up without sleep to meet a tight deadline. And if that's the case, you're better off doing it tactically. Think of sleep as paying back a bank loan. When you don't get enough of it, you'll have to pay more next time to catch up with the payments. And if you had to sleep less than the usual, you could try taking a nap during the day. And that only needs to be about 20 minutes or 40 to 45 minutes. I think what it comes down to is how we manage our time. So if you find yourself, you're burning out with work, you're probably doing more than you're capable of. Consider dropping or deferring some of your work. Oh wait, I've made a video about that. Yeah, I'll link it. Check it out. So the story I told you about at the beginning, I ended up quitting my retail job and the business venture after 6 months. It was just exhausting. It was just too much. And what I did instead is I chose my sleep and to focus on getting the job I wanted. And I'm in it now. Most of the stuff I've spoken about in this video is not my opinion, but the opinion of experts. So if you want to read more on the subject of sleep, check out the book, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Highly recommended. I'll do a follow-up video with some tips, tricks and tools for improving sleep if you are interested in that. And do remember to give it a like, a comment and subscribe if you haven't already. Work smart. Alexa, lights out.
Okay.